Hey guys, how are you doing? This is a new series called Hang with Goose, and basically this is going to be a live thing, okay? But today I'm going to just do it as a video, but I'm going to up my game, and this is Hang with Goose is going to be a live kind of thing, maybe once a month, and maybe even a couple of times a month, and then I'm going to put some mics, proper recording gear, and so that it's going to sound nice. And if I don't look beautiful, the sound will be beautiful, so there you go. So today I'm with the Daniels Les Paul, because I'm actually recording an album, a new trio album with this, and I'm really kind of focusing on the British blues sound. So I'm not really just using this video as a promotional thing, because I want to talk about British blues sound today, and I give you an update on the Marshall that I'm going to be building, the JTM45 replica. And also talking about strings, because basically I did a couple of videos on strings. I'm going to do maybe one more on focusing on jazz guitar players, because I just think that's amazing how they can, they're playing 16s. Pat Martino's playing 16s or whatever. So we're gonna just check that out, because it's interesting to know what George Benson, the main man, is playing, all that stuff. And maybe Django Reinhardt. Let's find out what Django Reinhardt's strings were. But interestingly, when I was doing the blues and the rock sort of string videos, I kind of realised that most of these players were in fact using 9s and 10s. That seemed to be the majority of strings were gauge 9 or 10. I mean, some went down as, I think it was Billy Gibbons was using a 7 or 8. And then of course you got Stevie Ray Vaughan using 13s, and like a 58 on top, I think, on the low E. But basically, yeah, that was really interesting. And because and a lot of people say to me sometimes, "Oh, Ramon, why don't you use 10s or 9s?" Because I use 11s. I use 11s on Strats. So when I'm playing blues or rock and roll, I use 11s. That's what I use, and I use a heavy plectrum. I'm using one of these Jazz 3s. I just absolutely love these. This plastic. Can't remember what the plastic is called. Jazz 3, and I can't remember what the plastic's called. But it's you can't bend. You're not going to be able to bend that plectrum. And this works for me, because if I'm playing jazz or blues, it's cool. Obviously, when I'm playing jazz guitar, I'm using 12s or 13s, and then for blues guitar, I'm using 11s. But obviously, slide guitar, then the gauges go up. But with my standard, if I'm playing a Strat or Les Paul, I'm playing 11s, and the reason I'm playing 11s is because I like to hit the guitar. But you can play softly with 11s and a hard plectrum. I'm going to give you an example of playing hard and then soft. So this is obviously, I'm going to be playing hard now. So that's playing hard. Now playing soft. So that's called dynamics, and control over dynamics, which everyone, as a musician, is part of the toolkit is controlling your dynamics, and that is. A lot of the time I'm using my left hand more. If I'm playing softer with my plectrum on my right hand, I'm playing, controlling it, gripping more with my left hand, and manoeuvring, putting the embellishments in with my left hand. But here's the deal: it doesn't matter if you're using 9s, 8s, 11s, or 13s. What matters is it works for you, and you get your sound that's in your head. For me, if I used 9 or 10s, I would break the strings, because I hit the guitar hard. And that's basically my career really started on acoustic guitar and acoustic blues, Delta blues. Well, I'm from the Essex Delta blues in England, not from the Mississippi Delta, obviously. But playing country blues, and I'm always hitting the guitar hard, and you're playing 12s, 13s on maybe a longer scale acoustic guitar than a Les Paul. it's more like a Strat scale length, so it's really hard to bend and you're hitting the guitar hard if I'm using a plectrum with it. And so that technique I then brought to electric, and then basically, you know, that's just my style. I just have to, you know, work with it. So, but you can, as I just demonstrated, you know, really, you know, just part of your toolkit is using dynamics in your playing. So if you do have heavy strings, then you have to learn to play really softly. And that's where your amp is going to clean up, you know, and, you know, using, if you set your amplifier, so it's quite a gainy sound, so when you dig into that note, you get the sustain, but when you play softly, you're not getting that sustain. And it's a more cleaner, as opposed to playing louder. And so that's really where you want to be at with your string gauge, is that you can comfortably do that, and then your plectrum has got to reflect that as well, because, you know, to use a hard plectrum, you really then have to let it loose. You know, let me just demonstrate that. Can you see? It's wobbling within my thumb and first finger, and you have to be able to do that so that. But when you're playing harder passages, when you're digging in, then you just grip the plectrum a little bit more. But especially when you're playing rhythm guitar, if I play, that is where you're allowing movement of the plectrum. You know, so because when I'm playing rhythm guitar, I'm always trying to fit into the mix and be a thin sound. You know, Strats and Tellies are great for rhythm guitar because you've got a thin sound, and that's what you want. So that's really my verdict on strings. Just make it work. Whatever strings, there's not a competition. It's, you know, it's just, you know, you use what you can to get the sound that you want in your head. Some of my favourite guitar players, like Albert King, are using quite thin strings, you know, I love Billy Gibbons playing, and he's using really thin strings. You know, Brian May, again, another guy that uses thin strings. Even I was surprised to find out about Johnny Winter, you know, playing slide on pretty much thin strings. So there you go. It is what it is, and you know, you don't need big fat strings to make a sound. You can get the same sound on 9s as you can with 11s. You just set your amp louder, obviously, and the guitar's still going to bloom. It's still going to work for you because you've got pickups. You know, you know, when they say bigger strings equals bigger tone, that's very debatable. And sometimes when you hit the guitar harder, it can sound thinner. You know, when you hit the guitar softer, the note's going to bloom, and you can drive that, you know, amp if you've got some overdrive there, and it can bloom more and sound fatter. So, you know, there's a lot of variable in this. Okay, anyway, so on to the next subject in Hang with Goose today. Basically, we're going to be talking about JTM45. I'll put the other link of my video called Building a JTM45, which is me creating the amp that Peter Green and Eric Clapton used in the Blues Breakers. Okay, we're talking about 1966 and 1967, first half. Before England went to psychedelia in the summer, you know, the summer of '67, that's when we went psychedelic. But just before then, you've got Peter Green playing in clubs up and down the country in England, places like Scunthorpe and Blackburn, Liverpool, Manchester, whatever, playing blues clubs. And it's before the summer, what they call the Summer of Love. And Peter Green's carting around a JTM45 with a cabinet with 4 Celestion silverbacks, which are 20 watts each. So it's an 80 watt cabinet with essentially a 36 watt amp when it's pushed. So Clapton also had one of them, a JTM45, and he left it, of course, when he was playing in the Glands in Greece. He had to do a runner. But he actually recorded with a combo, a 2x12 combo, which was a JTM45, but in a combo called the Blues Breaker combo, and that also had a tremolo. So that had a tremolo in the circuit, which may be important. But anyway, Clapton was using the head, the piggyback sort of head and cab, 4x12 cab. He was using a JTM45, as was Peter Green. So that's really where my focus was on, those amps, and I think they were made in 1965. So one thing, when I'm going to show you some parts now. This kind of was the main thing, because those amps, when Jim Marshall was building those amps very quickly, I just realised all he did was get one of his. He probably had a tech guy doing this for him, because, you know, Jim Marshall's he's a drummer. You know, he's not an electrician, but he obviously had somebody in his shop that was an electrician. And Jim Marshall said, you know, build an amp, just copy a Bassman, a Fender Bassman. So the tech then, you know, copied the Bassman, and where's he going to get the parts? He's living in England, he's not in America. The Bassman's made in America. It's probably an RCA circuit that Leo Fender got from the RCA circuits. And anyway, we're in England, but Jim Marshall's, you know, tech is then looking for electrical components. Where's he going to go? Obvious choice is radio spares. So he gets hold of a radio spares catalogue, and that's where he gets all the components, looks at the schematic and gets all the components from the radio spares catalogue. So pretty much that amplifier was made from all the components that came from radio spares. So when I came to recreate these great amps that Peter and Eric were using in 1965, well, as it was in 1965 amp when they were using 66, 67, I had to get all radio spares components made in the 60s. So that's a pretty daunting task. And one of my main things was I was trying to get the things which are called NOS, new old stock, which means these things are pretty much new, but they've never been used. The main thing was this thing here, which is called a deluxe output transformer. This was like, I didn't bother getting anything else. It's like, if I couldn't find this, there's no point in me buying any resistors or anything else, because this is where it all starts. This is the sound of Peter and Eric's amp, was this baby here. So once I got this, which are pretty hard to get hold of, then we knew, okay, let's get this started, because game's on. We can do this. So that was the hard thing to get. How much difference does it make? You know, you're thinking, oh, well, you know, it's just an output transformer. You know, surely that doesn't make a difference to the tone. Well, I think it does actually. You know, there's a whole forums about this. You can check out all the forums and on Metropolis, at Marshall Clone forums, and people are saying that these sound very, very different to the transformers that Jim Marshall used later. Okay, then the next one, which was really hard to get hold of, was this thing here, which is called a radio spares mains transformer. You know, one that works, that hasn't been blown. And this again is an NOS one. It's never been used. It's from the 1960s. And I had to go to literally old boys in their collection, in their garden sheds, and had to go and pillage their old transformers. You know, and these guys had, you know, go to somewhere like Kent or up north, whatever, go into these garden sheds, and they literally just components everywhere, anything, because these are radio guys. You know, if you're going to buy this stuff off an amp guy, he's going to charge you 5 times as much as a radio guy, and it's going to be knackered, and it's probably not even going to work. So stay away from amp guys that have got old gear. Stay away from them. My advice is go to radio guys, because they don't charge a premium for this stuff. You know, and it's normally really good condition, and it hasn't been completely knackered in. So that's my mains transformer. Now this even gets better, guys. It even gets better, because those two didn't come with the original cases. But check this out. So this is a choke, okay, and this is the original packaging for the radio spares choke. You know, it's got the address there, made in England, and the Running Man symbol. So this is not only NOS, this is like literally never been out of the case. So you're seeing this is out of the case for the first time today. I have never taken this out of the case. So look at this, this is brand new. There you go. So that's an original 60s choke. Look at it, beautiful. It's quite heavy actually. And you can see the logo there, look, it looks mint condition. So that is the choke that goes in the amp. Wonderful. And then I had to get the mica caps, these ones here. But this is where it gets interesting, guys. This is where it gets really interesting. So then I realised that you've got what's called a mixing capacitor. well, it's actually kind of an RC circuit. It's like a resistor and a mica capacitor, and these were really hard to get because some guy on eBay was charging £1,000 for 10 of these mica capacitors. These are 565 picofarads caps, if my memory's right. So it's like, how am I going to find, you know, one of them? If this guy's charging £1,000 for 10, that's £100 each. Fortunately, through my hard endeavours, I actually found 10 NOS 565 picofarads, and I call this the Peter Green cap because the 565 picofarad cap was in the Bluesbreaker, Hard Road Bluesbreaker Peter Green. That's what you're hearing on Supernatural. And the mixer cap, the resistor, you just change the resistor to alter the frequency range. But this is, there you go, there's again, a radio spares packet, never been opened. No. So these have never been used. And of course, then you've got the mustards. Again, these are mustard caps, which are very important, and all the other caps, and the old radio spares. Some of these are, obviously, these have been taken from a circuit, so these are not NOS. And then we've even got this Millard diode, and that's actually NOS. And there's various, I've got various other bits and pieces I can show you. You know, the switches, things like this, things are not so important, but there's a radio spares switch. I've got 3 switches which are NOS, yeah. And of course, very important, the radio spares potentiometers. So, you know, what does this mean, guys? This means that hopefully later, in maybe after the summer, I can present to you this amp, which is actually being made in Blackburn. Because this guitar here, this Daniels replica, was made in England. These pickups, which are the Peter Green set, they're made in England. All the radio spares parts are made in England. The amp's being made in Blackburn, and the two Celestion speakers I'm using, they're going to be made in England. So basically, the whole setup is British. It's a British sort of project, if you will. Why is that important? It's not really important, but that was the sound of British blues. You know, we've got Mississippi blues, we've got Chicago blues, and then, you know, for all intents and purposes, we've got British blues, which was the sound of Clapton, really. You know, it's all his fault because he plugged into the Marshall, the Les Paul into the Marshall. He heard, you know, this tune. Let me just get a bit of sound. Which is obviously from Freddie King, you know. So that Freddie King sound was done on a 53 or 54 Gold Top with P90s. Eric Clapton goes to Selma's in Charing Cross Road and he asks for a Gold Top Les Paul with, you know, the same one that was on the cover of the Freddie King album that he had and was just obsessed with. But he couldn't get it, so he got one of these instead. Well, not this, this is a replica, but he got a real one, and which people say is a 1960, with 2 PAF pickups, and not the P90s. So, and he's got a Marshall amplifier, which is overdriving more. It's a more overdriven sound. Okay, so that's really the British blues sound. And I'm playing blues. I'm in Britain, so I thought, you know, I better get, you know, to grips with this British sound. And so that's the reason I'm going to this crazy journey. But as well, I'm doing this crazy journey, guys, so you don't have to. So you can see if it really actually results in something, you know, by me going to these lengths. Hopefully I'll be able to report that on that soon. But until the meantime, guys, thanks for watching these videos. And we'll do a hang with Goose, a live hang with Goose next. And hopefully soon I will have the Marshall JTM45 replica to demonstrate, and we can use this guitar, we can use a real 1958 Les Paul with that, courtesy of my friend Bob, and then we can have lots of fun with that. So till the next video, guys, thanks a lot for, you know, supporting the channel, everything. Take care, guys, God bless, and let me know if you've got any comments, questions, put it in the comments. Till the next time, take care, bye.